Worldwide. And as I welcome our viewing audience, you did not tune in by chance. We have a divine appointment, and we are keeping our divine appointment, aren't we? Yes, we are. We are here today to acknowledge that divine appointment. My theme for the month is the dance of life. And there is a wonderful woman who was a Harvard graduate. She was born in Brooklyn, New York. And she was an attorney for many years, and a very successful attorney. And one day she came to California. She was lying on the beach. The waves were crashing on the sands, and there was like that wonderful luminous energy, and the sun was shining. And she thought, I do not want to be an attorney anymore. I want to follow my bliss. And she wrote this book, This Time I Dance. And her name is Tama Keeves, and this is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful book, where she talks about she graduated cum laude from Harvard Law School, and then she decided, I'm going to follow my bliss, I'm going to be a writer, I'm going to do all these wonderful things, and no one in her life supported her. She had a dream, and her mother, her wonderful mother would say, oh, your cousin just married this wonderful man who's, a multimillionaire, and they're going here and going there. And so when are you going to get a real job? And she was receiving a lot of this, she said. And she said I would cry, and I would just, keep writing. And finally I self-published my book, and because I had a lot of rejection slips. And one day I received an email from the Tarcher Publishing House, and it was from a woman who said, I have been in the publishing field for many, many years. I am your fairy godmother of publishing. I'm going to make sure that this wonderful book gets published by all the big boy publishing houses on the planet. She said, I read the email 900 times. I laughed, I cried, I did the happy dance. I just went into this ecstatic moment. And This Time I Dance is really about living our bliss. It's about doing what I love and loving what I do, and realize the universe supports us in this. And that if you make a lot of money doing what you don't love, think how much money you'll make doing what you do love. Because if we do what we love, the money will follow. Money is a means of exchange. It's a byproduct of consciousness. We need it to pay our bills, to be in financial integrity, to be physically responsible. But energetically, that which we put out into the universe comes back to us, pressed down, shaken together, and flowing over into every single area of our life. And all of our life experiences bring us to this present moment. And it's interesting because wherever I lived, I would always go to the church of where I lived. And when we moved, I was 14, and the only church that was there was a Catholic church, and I went to the Catholic church. And I was baptized at 14 by Father Falvey. And I remember him saying that there were certain, rules and regulations, and he always said, you're a Grace Kelly. You're not a Marilyn Monroe. You're a Grace Kelly. And then he would go into his little shtick about the energy of purity and enlightenment, which actually very much served me. And I went to these wonderful retreats, and I went to Mount St. Mary's retreat, and the Mother Superior said, you have the calling and you're avoiding it. And that meant, going into the convent. Well, interestingly enough, I said to her, well, I like boys. And she said, oh, then yours is a different vocation, dear. So, motherhood, the second oldest profession, right? So, interestingly enough, that was such a foundation, a springboard to come into metaphysics, because we believe that all paths that lead to God are good. That every religion has their mystic element that is going to forward and advance us into that next energy field. And what I know is that there is a power for good in the universe greater than we are, and we are using it every single day of our lives, with every thought we think, with every action we take, with the deeds, and we sow as we reap. This is a cause and effect relationship here. And when we sow the seeds of positive energy, aliveness, love, they come to fruition. And what happens is we get impatient. We're an impatient species. We want instant gratification. We plant the seeds, we water them, We go back 2 days later and dig them up to see how they're doing, right? Because we want instant gratification. But there is a process. There is an energy. And that we nurture the seeds. We know that something is going on underneath, under the surface of consciousness, in the subconscious mind. These positive thoughts are taking root. This energy is taking root. This opportunity to feel the spiritual essence and oneness with all life is taking root, so that as it springs up into life, something great and wonderful is happening, and we are a vital part of it. Now, it's interesting. I spoke with someone, and he owns a salon, and he said that his top-notch stylist was leaving to go take care of her children. And he said it was like a bolt, you know, she's my top stylist and she brings in all the money. And I had another one leave and had to bring someone else in. And I have to reevaluate what I'm doing here. Do I stay open just to, you know, keep the doors open? What do I do here? And I said, interestingly enough, this is a universal situation and condition that's going on, I believe, so that we can go deeper inside ourselves. And every time I have felt the rug pulled out from under me, I have always landed on higher ground. We have to have that faith as a grain of mustard seed, and to realize that this energetically, with every contraction, there's a greater, and I mean greater expansion on the horizon coming in. Blessed are they who have eyes that see and ears that hear. That there's a whole new creation coming in. And we have to have the patience that when we plant those seeds, we nurture those seeds, we fertilize those seeds, that there is something going on underneath the surface. Blessed are they who have eyes that see and ears that hear, and a heart that feels and knows the energy of truth. Because if we do not express what we are feeling, and allow, you know, energetically, I think it's very healthy that when we're going through something to say, you know what, I'm really scared. I'm feeling some fear here. And then someone will say, well, you know, fear, false evidence appearing real. And you want to kind of slap them for the moment because you're, you know, discharging energy and you don't want to hear that. But it is the truth. In fact, my daughter used to say, my mother really practices this way of life, and sometimes it's really annoying. She just won't let you wallow. She lets you wallow for a little bit, but then she gets on the solution level. But when we get on the solution level, when we discharge our sadnesses, our disappointments, our discouragement, we all get discouraged. It's part of the human condition. But energetically, to come through it on the other side and to realize that there is a gift in this. There is an absolute gift in this situation. And, you know, I look at my life at this juncture, that every day of my life, I feel totally alive. And this aliveness, the opportunity to know the truth, to create the miracles that allow us to come out on the other side and do what we love and love what we do, because these are life-transforming principles. And believe me, in the almost 40 years of doing this work, I have seen miracle after miracle after miracle. And I mean, like liver transplants and amazing cancer healings, and those that have been diagnosed with AIDS that pick up their bed and walk and go out and serve others. I've seen it over and over and over again, and I am not only a believer, I know that this works. Remember that hope springs eternal in the human heart. But hope is the lowest rung on the ladder. When someone says, well, you know, you do something, you treat for them, you speak your word, and they go, I hope it works. Oh, yes. Hope is a subtle illusion and unconscious compromise in a situation like that. When someone speaks their word and does a prayer, it's already set in motion. It's already an accomplished fact in mind and experience. We open and say, thank you, Father, Mother, God, for the truth of this treatment and the knowingness that my life is unfolding in miraculous ways. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And when we get that at the heart level, we begin to open in amazing ways. And what I shared with my friend who owns the salon, that your livelihood is not dependent on anyone or anything. The ground of being is God, whatever you conceive your God to be. And that you will attract on the horizon people, places, and things that'll take it to a higher level. and you see this through to the other side, rather than making preconceived ideas. And yes, it's good to weigh all of our options, but what I know is that there is a ground of being, and that ground of being is God. Whatever we conceive our God to be, whatever name we put on it. There's a beautiful little anthology of Japanese stories, and I have had one for years. It's called The Dancing Tea Kettle. And it was about an old Buddhist priest that was going through the village, and he loved beautiful things. And he had a beautiful little house in the village. And he saw this amazing tea kettle. It was so beautiful. He took it home, he put it on his teak table, and then he proceeded to fall asleep. And some of the younger monks looked through his door and saw that he was sleeping, and suddenly they saw a head popped out of the teapot, legs and arms, and the teapot began to dance around and sing from its spout, and they were like, what is going on? And they woke the old priest, and they said, your teapot, it's dancing and it's singing, and we've never seen anything like it. And the old priest opened his eyes, and he was still groggy, and he looked in the teapot. There it was on the tea table, just as it was when he bought it. He said, oh, don't be silly or ridiculous. This is just a teapot. And he fell back to sleep. And then others came, and they saw the dancing teapot, and the old priest awoke. And he saw it doing its dance with its arms and its legs and its little head that popped out and singing its song, and he became frightened. He thought, this is a haunted teapot. I must get rid of it. So an old junk man came by, and he gave the teapot, and he goes, oh, this is so beautiful. I'm not going to resell this. And he took it home, and sure enough, the head popped out, the arms, the legs, began singing through his spout. And the old junk man was taken with this charmed teapot. And he thought, oh, I'm going to take such good care of you. And the teapot said, you're going to feed me? Because he said, at the monastery, they didn't. I was starving. And they created this relationship and built this theater, and all the children of the town came and watched the teapot. And then one day the old junk man said, you've really worked hard and long, and we have all this gold, much more than we need. Would you like to retire? And the little teapot said, yes, I would. And so he put it on the shelf and decided, no, I'm going to take half my money and give it to the old priest. Come with me. And so he took the teapot, he walked up the hill, he gave the old priest half of his gold for the monastery, and said how much joy the teapot had given him, because he saw who the teapot really was, and the charm and the magic and the energy of what life has to offer. If we're afraid of life, we give it away. It's haunted. It doesn't serve us. It doesn't work. But when we're all-inclusive, we even include the dancing, singing teapot. And he said, I wanted to offer you the teapot back because we have had a good life together, and perhaps now you can sit with the energy of this magical teapot. And the old priest, learning something, thanked the old junk man. He saw him as a treasure man now, a treasure trove. And energetically, when we have eyes to see and ears to hear, everything dances in the energy field. Our life becomes the dance. And as when life asks you to dance, we say yes. There's a rhythm and a cadence to life, and you know if you're in the flow. You know if you're in the energy field. You feel at that deep, deep level that all is well with me, all is well with the world, and that we are a vital part of this energy, that no matter what is going on at the planet, that we take ourselves out of the law of averages, which is the economy, which is the negative news, the sensationalism, all the stuff outside of us. And we place ourselves within the law of individual selection, which means I rise above, I transcend what's going on in the immediate, objective energy field. That my livelihood is not dependent on people, places, or things. My livelihood is open to God consciousness. And that's where the miracles live and move and have their being inside of us. And that when we have dis-ease going on, and you know I had a major surgery in April, that energetically all of the whole universe comes rushing in to lift us beyond that experience, to transcend it, to realize that we tap into an energy and a light that allows us to be all that we can be. We each own a dancing teapot, energetically. We all have that energy, that charm, that magic. And one of the greatest archetypes in the tarot deck is the Fool. And that has him with a little knapsack, and he's stepping off the cliff. Come to the edge, he said. And he said, I might fall. Come to the edge, he said. He said, oh, I'm afraid. Come to the edge, he said. And he pushed him, and he flew. We have the inner energy. We have wings that transcend appearances, conditions, and effects of life. We have the energy of Christ consciousness, the Buddha nature, the holy I Am presence. We are powerful beyond belief, but it is a tapping into a power and co-creating with it. It is dancing with the energy of life. It is the opportunity that presents itself every single day of our lives. And it's interesting, Reverend Dennis sent me kind of an old and tried and true little bit of humor that I always, it's interesting, when someone sends me something, I bring it out of the archives. And it was, my version is, there's an old minister, and he says, has anyone in the audience, do you have someone to forgive? Raise your hand. Everybody raised their hand, but one person. And her name was Bertie, and she was in the back of the room, and she was 98 years old. And he said, Bertie, you don't have anyone to forgive? And she said, nope. He says, come on up front and just share with the people how you did that. And she just, kind of went down on her little cane, and she got in front of everybody, and he said, just share. We're all so inspired that you have no one to forgive in your life. How did you do that? And she said, well, it's like this, pastor. I outlived the SOBs. And with that, he got what he asked for, right? So if you live long enough, energetically, if you live long enough, that something begins to happen in consciousness. But I say that while we're here, let's let go and let God do what God does best by means of us, not holding on to anything, not holding on to people, places, or things, letting it all go so that we can dance. That we can dance the dance of the ages, that we can be in divine rhythm, divine cadence with the energy of the universe, that we can feel the divine flow, that we can open to the energy of this moment. This eternal moment is all that we have. Thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this way of life and the opportunity to know the truth and be free and to dance. We're dancing in the light every day of our lives when we're in the flow. Do you agree? We can feel it. And that we are going where? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Where? Higher yet. And so it is. God bless you. I love you. And we are dancing the dance.